Hey everyone. So today we have a new project. It's a little bit different. It's kind of on the table. It's a table. So, backstory real quick. I got this table, I want to say like 5 years ago, and since then I've made a few alterations to it, and this is just going to be a list of another one. Basically, this is a simple little table that just has a foot pump, and it rises up pretty decently high and it goes pretty low. It's easy enough to put like mowers on, and if I really need to have something heavy, I can put a ramp on there sometimes or angle it in a way so it gets the job done. According to the book that came with it and the reading I did before I purchased it, it can go up to 500 pounds. Now, unfortunately, we'll see it later, the actual top is not much wider than the actual handle. Maybe an inch or two on each side. If I remember correctly, I could be a little off. I think it's roughly where those bolts are. Well, that was a good and bad thing, because it was good for small stuff, chainsaw, maybe a really small generator like a Honda 2000, stuff like that, mainly 2-cycle equipment. However, stuff like anything like that over there, it really became a problem, especially since a lot of times the wheels wouldn't fit on there. So for mowers, that was good because it wouldn't fall off or roll off because it's sitting on the deck. It's not so good when you try to start it though, and it's just really hard to have tools on there. It just didn't work out. So I had a friend weld up some angle, just on the angle on both sides. Well, it's on the bottom and the side, and then into like a square. I don't think it's a perfect square. I think it's like 3 feet by like, it's either 33 or 39 inches. I'm pretty sure it's 33 inches. I'm hoping it's 33 inches because that's what I remember it being, and that's what I'm trying to remember if I measure it again. But after that, got some wood. This is the second, I believe, 2 times I've had to change this. Each time I just get whatever I have available. Usually it's originally I think it was actually 6-inch, and I had a couple slabs, but either way they are screwed into place. Over time I got the 12 and it just worked out a lot easier. Well, as you can tell, it gets a little dirty, it gets scraped up. It's not, it gets the job done, but it's not really ideal anymore, mainly because I do weld, and to get my welding table out now is a little difficult. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking out the wood. This is 3/16 plate. It's a little heavy. It's roughly 75 pounds, I want to say. And then I have a couple bars. That's pretty thin though. It's just mainly to add support. It's nothing really too major. Some of it is a little dirty, but it's going to be on the bottom. We'll see that here shortly. But after I get everything cleaned up with the bars and wipe this off, this is roughly 75 pounds. I need to cut off a little bit, so it might go down to 70 pounds, but then the bars over there, that's going to add it up. So it's roughly going to be about 70 pounds more. The angle, I want to say, is probably going to make it a total of like 80. So instantly we go from 500 to 420 pounds being lifted. Now, usually the largest things I put on here is maybe a rather large generator, maybe a large rototiller, and I went back through a couple of my notes and videos and book that I keep, and I think the largest rototiller I put on here is a Troy-Bilt rear horse, or whatever the old red ones are. According to the internet, those weigh 350 pounds. That's still under 420. It's getting pretty close, but it's under 420. Usually, it is stuff like that, and those are 70, maybe less, maybe more. It depends on the brand and what you have. So I think we should be fine. So what's the plan here? Well, good thing you asked. The plan is to take this 3/16 sheet, lay it out, see if I have to cut anything off. I'm pretty sure I do have to cut off about 3 inches from the length. And then I'm going to take the wood out, see what the ring looks like. I'm pretty sure it's just angle, and then drill some screw holes to hold the wood in, and then weld the support beams or bars where the creases in the wood here to kind of help support it. That is necessary, but it's not. You don't need to go overboard, because like I said, I was really going back and forth between 1/4, 3/16, and 1/8. The reason why I went 1/4, it's gonna be too heavy. That was at least 100 pounds, maybe a little under, and then you add that, and to be honest, it'd be overkill. I mean, you would be adding so much additional strength, and at the same time adding additional weight, where you have that strength but you can no longer lift it. And oddly enough, to get a replacement jack isn't hard, but to get a bigger one that would fit will take a lot of modification, and it's a little expensive, so I'd rather not push the limits of that, so I'm not going to. 1/8, however, though, when I was looking at it, did seem a little flimsy. I would have to support it a little bit more. I don't really want to have a move too much, especially if something did get a little heavy on there. Maybe one day it breaks a weld. I don't want anything to happen, so then I chose against that one. This, I think, will be a good in-between. It's sturdy, it's strong, it's going to have the ability to be welded into place, and we should be good to go. So as you can tell, there's going to be 3 pieces, just like the wood. The bars are going to go where the creases are. It's going to be welded to each one on the bottom. In addition to that, it's going to be welded to the angle. I might take I think I'm going to have to cut down that bar, because I believe that's 4 feet long on each one, and then cut little, maybe 2-inch sections, and then put maybe 2 on either side just to help support it. That way, in case the welds do fail, it has something to kind of hold it on the angle. That's a lot of talking, I understand, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take the metal off. I'm going to take the wood out. Like I said, it's just the screws and the bolts. That's easy enough to deal without showing. Wow, that's nasty. It's all clean now. Well, the top is, not so much the bottom, but the top is clean. I started to wonder how I wanted to attach it to the top. My original ideas were as follows. Either weld it directly to it, because this is just plain steel. To take it off would be a little hard, and I mean, you just have to grind it off, but you'd have to disassemble it to take it off. And if one day I just want to take the top off, I couldn't really do that. My other idea was to take a piece of any type of metal. I think I have an 1/8 inch piece I can cut into little squares, or even a old lawnmower blade and just cut a piece off, probably 4 pieces, and then weld a little flap on the side of the support beam, or support bar. That might be a little easier, and it will, well, not easier to do. It would be a whole lot easier just to weld it directly to the table, don't get me wrong, but if I ever did want to take it off, it'd be a whole lot easier. Then I started to wonder, man, if I did that, then I would have to how would I keep it from trying to put the nut on the bottom? How would I keep it from spinning? Because then, I mean, I'd have to find a way to put my hand through here, and then I'd be in the same position. I would have to take apart the table. So then I came to a conclusion. I'm going to weld the bolts to that so they don't move, and then the bolts, I'll drill some more holes into the bottom, and then they will just slide on top. And then once I have that done, I'll go ahead and get the frame, everything put on. Once I know it's secure, then I'll go ahead and get the little supports added, and it should be fine. My other idea was, I don't think I want to put the supports, from looking at this point of view, horizontally. I think I want to put them vertically. That way, because I do need to put the actual, or do I? Yeah, I need to put them, it'd be better to put the actual sheet going vertically from looking at this direction. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because very rarely do I run out of room lengthwise, but it's usually width. And considering my area that I work in, unless I move it over here, having more space, the wider it is, the little easier it is for me to work on. And right now that's 3 feet wide, looking from this point of view, and 33 inches long. So that's what I'm going to keep it at. I'm going to cut off the 3 inches. I'm not going to do that now. Right now I'm going to work on the frame. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the bars, clean them up because they have a lot of rust on them, at least one of them does. Put them in the frame, probably get them welded, and then I'm going to cut the little tabs, drill a hole in them, and then put it on my table where I would want it to go, and then mark the holes for the table where to drill them. That way I can just get the bolts welded in there and everything should be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done and be right back. It's probably a little hard to understand what I was talking about before, so I cut off these little tabs and I put them on the side of the support beams. These are going to be the mounting tabs, and later I'll take a bolt after I drill into the table that you're sitting on, and I will weld the bolts that we're holding the previous boards on, assuming they don't have a shoulder. I'll have to double check. If not, I'll have to find others, but that's not really my main concern at the moment. If anything, I'll just put something in there for temporary, just so it doesn't like slide away. Let's see here. What do I want to set? So I'm going to be doing on 3 and C. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take a look at these and see exactly what I want to do next. Got the sheets cut down. They're pretty decent. There's like one little area that's a little rough, but not too worried about it. I ground down where I'm going to be welding. That way I can have, well, I don't want to say ground down, but I took it down to clean, bright metal. That way I can make sure that they're good. I wiped it down with acetone. I may be putting a couple tacks into place because it's a little wobbly. Yeah, wobble. So I'm going to do that real quick here. So like I said, I'm going to do this TIG welding. So I'm not going to be really doing a whole lot of showing because I'm not a TIG welder, but obviously you could do them with MIG. I just prefer TIG because I find it easier to MIG. So I'm going to put a couple 2-inch or so welds to hold it in place. In between now and the last time I showed this, I took off those little spacers we put in earlier. Here's one of them because they're not needed anymore, and I put the spacers on the support. That's roughly where these are as well, so that is fully supported. The metal itself is pretty thick, so it's going to be able to hold some weight, and the center support will be able to make sure it doesn't bow. So I'm going to go ahead and get started welding, and hopefully we will get this done here soon. And we're finally done. So I got it welded up to a couple different places. On each side there's at least 4 or 5, and then on this side the same thing. On the front though, there's at least 2 holding it on. The center obviously has about 2 inches of weld on it, so it should be good to go. I had contemplated if I wanted to take this off and weld the spacers onto it. I just don't think that would be necessary. It's not going anywhere. So I'm going to put this down, put up a project, and we're going to see how it works. Well, moment of truth. Got a project, tables on the floor. Something I didn't mention was that because the original top is a lot smaller, make sure this doesn't hit on the way down. Wouldn't that suck if I did all this and it won't even lift it up? Or it's too tall? It shouldn't be. Now we do need our little stop. It's definitely a little heavier. I can tell that right now. Okay, and there we have it. It is all lifted up. There's the same amount of room because we use the same frame. It's the same height. The wood was always just a little bit taller, so that's not the problem. Really the only thing that is going to be different is the fact that it's a little heavier. Now, I know I work on pressure washers, so rust can be a potential problem, but I also work on oily things, and hopefully the oil will help protect it a little bit. That's my hope, at least. So, you know, with the exception of a few areas right there primarily, and there's one in the center where the wind came in and kind of caused there to be a little bit of a problemo, it worked out pretty good. But there's a couple things I've learned from this. One is I'm not a metal fabricator. Two, you know, things can change pretty drastically, but I'm pretty glad that this actually does just fit on the frame. And, you know, this is a tool of mine that I use daily. And if I didn't have it, I probably wouldn't do nearly as much work as I do if I had to lean down on a chair or find a way to pick it up or use like a different type of jack. This type of table is just insanely useful. So, what did I learn? One, I'm not a very good MIG welder. Two, when looking at yourself welding, you can tell your mistakes, and I can tell that I legitimately have entirely too much stick out when I MIG weld, so I'm glad I learned that. And then three, you know, I have a picture in my mind of what I want, and I got most of it, but you know, there were some changes along the way, and I'm okay with that. I'm very, very satisfied. The only other thing I would potentially look at is possibly getting something a little less thick. Maybe the 1/8 would have been a better option. I don't really know. If this does become a problem, then I'd only have to cut the welds on the side, put some new plates on, and that's it. The frame is good to go for another one. The spacing is pretty much okay. Maybe I add a washer or something that adds a little gap to make it level, but that's it. So why did I do this? Well, one of them is wood is, you know, holds oil. It gets dirty. No matter how much you do anything, it gets dusty and dirty and oily. You have to change it out routinely, and I just don't want to deal with that. I can't weld on anything. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to weld something really small. In fact, I'm going to be making a video after I make this one about a different project I have in mind, and I couldn't do that if I had to consistently take out a little table. If I want to do something really small and insignificant, I can easily do that with this. So it's going to make it a lot easier, and it's just going to last. Like, I will probably never have to take this off unless it's too heavy. I don't think it is, but that's it. I am rambling, I should say, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get going. If this helped you out, let me know. If you are thinking about changing your table or making a table, and this is something that you're considering, let me know that in the comments. Have a good night. Definitely subscribe. Catch you later.